Hi everyone and welcome to the new tutorial. This one's going to be about materials and clothing and capes. And to start off with, we're going to dress these guys. I've got some stages here on the left that we're going to go through. So casual, medieval, some tactical armor, and maybe some superhero stuff as well. So let's dive into it and see what we come up with. I'm going to start with some casual clothes. So I'm just going to fade that back a little bit and we're going to work over the top of it. The first thing that I would like to talk about is probably t-shirts and the different types of t-shirts and how they can fit. So let's say you've got a really baggy shirt, kind of like this. So if you're going to have a loose fitting shirt, think about these points right here. That's probably where the shirt's going to hang from mostly. So the shoulders, top of the shoulders, and everything's going to kind of motion down from there. So I'm just going to put a few streaks up and even just have the shirt come straight down like this. And even if I put some folds in, you know. And as it gets to the bottom, it's going to like bunch up a little bit, you know. Now, as I get to the chest, I'm not even going to put much definition in. So if you want a loose shirt, you're going to have barely any definition in the pecs. And I'm just throwing in a couple of wrinkle lines. And the more simple you keep it, the better it'll turn out to be, I think. So let's draw in the neckline there, a bit loose. You know, maybe the shirt will come right down up past his arms there. And then the trick is to kind of make sure that you have those kind of sleeves really like fraying out to the sides there. So that's quite a long shirt, quite baggy, but you know, I feel like some of these lines are a little bit too prominent. So I'm going to fade them back a little bit, get rid of all that definition where the abs might be. And you can see what I mean where, you know, the less is more kind of. And I feel like a lot of the wrinkles kind of stop about here where the chest is. And then everything will drape off the chest, since the chest is the thing that's going to pop out most. And what I mean is, from a side-on view, his chest is like that, and then goes down. So it's kind of like a cliff. You know, there's his shoulders, and that's just say that's the chest. So it's like a cliff. That's the furthest thing that pokes out. So any material that goes on it is just going to drop straight down, which means you're not going to have any of that kind of definition in there. So any wrinkles I do are going to stop right where the chest is. And then I'll have a big one draping down there, another one up here, and maybe some more down there, but like really thin kind of fine ones. And then I think that's going to be okay. And as I get under the armpit here, we're going to have a little bit more of a wrinkle. So that's a good example of a loose fitted shirt. Let's do a tight one. So if you're going to do a tight one, let's just have it a little bit shorter. And I'll just draw in the neckline here. And you know, I want this shirt to kind of be a bit more fitted. So it's going to be like pretty close to the body, but I still want to have a little bit of a loose fit. So you get the idea now where the shirt starts and stops. But how do the wrinkles work? Well, let's figure that out. You want to think of it as something that's kind of really wrapping around the body like this, you know? And it's really kind of just a bit more tighter and it's kind of like hugging the body. So I like to start with, you know, just a few kind of little lines that might come up and bunch around at the bottom. And this is where you can also kind of start thinking of the anatomy underneath a little bit. So where this ab is, I might just have a bit of a fold kind of like here. And then it comes up, you know, and just think of that. You know, what if this was like Luke Cage or something and have it like quite tight fitted, but just show just some of the muscles a little bit, but not obviously, because you still want it to look quite loose. Again, you might just have that shadowy part there where it's probably going to be most, but not too prominent at all. It's nice and bunched, just a couple of little wrinkles here. You can probably still have a few straightish lines and then just kind of bunch it up around the corner there. So a good thing to do also is, if you want to really make it work a bit better, focus in on this bit and do like a wrinkle that comes in. This part's going to come down and then fold around. Now you see how that wrinkle is wrapping around and you can actually see the wrap. So that's a good little indication to show you that material is wrapping around the body, and it actually will it'll really benefit the character overall. And then probably just, you won't do any definition here through the body and chest. I wouldn't even, like, I'm just going to fade that right out. You know, all you would probably do is just a couple of maybe some stretchy lines like that if you want to. And that just helps kind of understand, you know, that it's material and it's stretching across his chest. So let's have a look at the quick difference there. So that's the fitted shirt, and that's the loose fitted shirt. So fitted, loose fitted. And you can see the way that the material works differently. This one's really draping off the body and the muscles, Whereas this one's hugging and like really tight fit, and you can actually see a little bit of the anatomy underneath. All right, so let's chuck on a jacket. I'm going to put a jacket over this guy now. So one thing to remember is when working with jackets, always look at the different types of material, because they all have different folds and they work differently. Take for instance this leather jacket. Look how thick it is, and the folds are much bigger and more harsh, and it's got really dense shadowing. Whereas the hoodie has a lot more lighter folds and it's a lot softer overall. So I'm going to add a leather jacket now, and I'm going to do like, don't go too close to the body. You see where the arm is? I don't want to go that close. I want to go nice and out. Give it some room to breathe, you know. It's a nice loose jacket. I'm following the shape of the arm, but I'm also adding these kind of indents where the arm might bend especially. Always work in the middle here. You got to always remember that bow, that bend inside your arm is where it's going to fold a lot more. Now you've got another fold underneath the shoulder here, and it comes down. So one of the first things I'm probably going to do is add that kind of middle opening in the jacket and add a nice big collar over it. One of the mistakes I used to always make when I was younger is I always had my materials kind of hugging way too close to the body, because I didn't really want to lose any of my anatomy and all that kind of stuff that I worked so hard on. But over time, I've definitely realized that it really pays off to just let it all hang and like let it be a bit more natural. So with the jacket, I think it kind of folds up like that. It kind of reaches up to the middle, and it has a nice fold in there. So remember, the folds you'll probably only see are around that area and right in the middle where the arm bends. Try and show those folds actually wrapping around the body. See, like here, so you can see that kind of comes up, and then you got this other fold that's going to go up and around. So there you go. That's a nice thick jacket on him now. So again, a really good example is, you know, do the folds like this. If you've got something coming down and you want to have a bend like this, get the material to come out and then down. So I'll fade that out. You can really see it wrapping around it, and then it's pulling down. You got to remember that gravity. Now let's put some jeans on this guy as well. Jeans are really hard to work with. Let's start off with some really baggy ones, and I'll show you how we can tackle that. So when you're doing jeans, think of the foot here, and you're going to think of the material going over, so over the top of the foot and then around the back, and it's kind of going around, so over the top like that, and then have that kind of come out, and you got this baggy, it's all bunched up at the bottom here, so you're going to have a lot of stuff kind of bunched up there, and then, you know, kind of think of the material being pulled down from like the knee, like have it all draping off the knee kind of thing. So let's put the knee in there. But yeah, here I might just have the material go back up where the calf is and then stop there maybe. I think that might look a bit nice. But yeah, don't hold back, don't be afraid. So down here again, you know, the material's wrapping around the over the top of the foot, but really have a couple of creases where it's all kind of stopped. And it's all folding up and around kind of thing, so like that. And maybe we, like, if it's going to be baggy, we'll just have it kind of draping off that calf there, but also just put a couple more bits of material like there as if it's pulling off it. And so yeah, there, just like that, draping off the knee there. And I think that might look all right. And then as you go up, just have like, maybe have a bit of an indent here, and then it'll just continue straight up. And as you get to the top, maybe have the pocket coming out or something, you know. Now where the crutch is, it's not going to be right where the crutch is there. It'll probably be way down a bit more, you know, because it's real drapey and droopy. I like to throw a couple of little loops in and things like that, and try and like have all the stuff kind of pointing out from the crutch. So like this, and then down and like that. That's kind of how I like to treat my jeans when I do them. And then we'll have that, you know, the zip, chuck that in there, but actually have some more of this kind of bunched up stuff. You've got this part here of the groin where the leg kind of lifts and folds. You're going to have a lot of folds and wrinkles that are going to go where that leg lifts, you know. They're going to go up and around and kind of join where the pocket is. So you're going to have a lot like that, kind of right up where the leg folds. So think of that. Put a pocket in here as well. Now when you get to the middle bit here, you're always going to have that bend, same as the elbows where everything bunches up, where you have a bend in the joints. So I like to make sure I've got it couple of little folds in there as well. A really cool thing to do is when you've got like little folds like this, little streaks that come down, work with them. So have them keep going up into the groin there. And then you're going to have this kind of nice effect where it just keeps folding. You actually see the fold. So always just add a couple of little extra details around the knees and things, like where everything kind of folds. So think of them like that. Try and think of all the folds and the joints around where the knees are. So there we go. He's got some nice casual gear on there. All right, let's try it with the female. So same kind of thing here. I'm just going to go ahead and just add like the jacket and everything that we just learnt. So she's got her arms up and they're a little bit more bent, you know, coming forward a bit. So you want to make sure you treat it like, you got to remember these arms are kind of like that, coming at you a bit. So things are going to wrap around like that. So keep that in mind when you're doing like little wrinkles, like where the jacket's going to go like this. Have them kind of wrapping over. Now, what I might do here is actually have the jacket kind of pulled up, the sleeves pulled up. So let's pull it up over the arm there. So that means there's going to be a hell of a bunch about here, like a really big bunch. See, when I'm doing belts, I always like to make sure that I do the main strap and then I'll add the buckle kind of as if it's a bit thicker than it and it's a bit more beveled out. And think of little things like the little latches that hold the belt together, you know, around the side. I'm not sure what they're called, but those little, you know, the loops. Think of those kind of things and like really add in all those extra details to the material and the clothing. And then, you know, like I mentioned before with where the joints are, so the joints are all in these areas in the crutch and in these areas where the knee bends. That's where you want all your folds. So up, have it kind of coming out a little bit, not too much, just a bit. Have the zip line in the middle where the fly is, and maybe just put a couple more wrinkles through there. Nothing major, you know, just nice and easy. Now, women usually have, you know, nice fitted kind of jeans. Depends what area you're trying to draw. Now, I better put a shirt on her, so I might actually put one on like, I don't know, maybe a bit more flory, bit more of a flow, you know, like have it a bit more like that, and it's like really flowing around. And then I might just throw a couple of little streaks in like that, just to show that her body's kind of bending and the shirt's got a good bit of flow to it. And again, just a couple of little bends around the knee area, you know. Put a couple in. Have it like really kind of bendy. Might even put some boots on her. Have some like high top boots, you know, have them wrap up and around. I think that'll look pretty cool. So there you go, you got a pretty cool couple there with their casual clothes on. I hope that gives you a sense of how to work with materials, kind of like leather jackets and t-shirts and things like that. So let's flip it on its head and we'll do some medieval stuff. So when working with armor, especially medieval kind of armor, you know, it's going to be off the body a fair bit because you got to remember there's plates of metal and everything that's kind of really lifted off. So never keep it too close to the body. You really want to make it look thick and chunky. That's, yeah, well, there's like a bit of a medieval guy. So it really kind of needs to be bulky and like it's metal mounted onto the body kind of thing. So let's do some tactical armor. I'll do it on the female here. You know, so what that means is like, you know, a lot of kind of straps and things like that, you know, around the legs, have some like, have some ammo bags or something hanging off, things like that, you know, materials. Always have a look at some good reference before you try, and it'll give you a good understanding of, you know, how the bags might work, or you might even want to have a gun strapped to there, like maybe she's got a gun on the other leg. And as I continue through, I'm making sure to keep the pants nice and baggy, but anything that's tight, like the knee pads, will be really huggy and like make sure it's quite tight to the body. And then I'm just continuing through, adding some elbow pads, bit of a body armor, kind of a vest. And yeah, just making sure that everything has a little bit more detail to look a bit more combat ready. So there's a bit of a tactical kind of outfit that you could do, you know. And I was just thinking of things like, especially these straps that go over the shoulders. See how they're risen above, you know, got to keep it off the body. things like that. So the gloves kind of lifted off as well, you know, all those kind of things, the straps. So yeah, there's all different types of things, and especially with all these creases and folds, they all need to work together to make it all read properly. I'd like to just explain how material works. So let's think of just one big sheet of draping material. So if it was like this, you know, so that's more the straightforward, straight down kind of material hanging. You can kind of see there, and it's just like every little fold is kind of like that. Okay, but you know, we need to kind of understand what if this was moved in a different way, or you know, held up, or it's hanging off something. So what if I had it kind of more like, you know, it was being reefed up by two different points, and then you can have one bit come down, and these are the kind of holding points. So what you would do is you'd really have a lot of streaks coming off just that one part, you know, and then have it kind of come down, and then really just kind of work with that. You really want everything to kind of move from the middle, so, and then it's going to move and arc back up to where the point is, the kind of grabbing point, and then really kind of just bring it down. And you could still have a little bit of a bit there. It was more like that, and then you've got these little shaded parts inside of it. So really kind of work with what you got, and try and play around with, you know, material and things like that. You got to think of what it's attached to and where is it going to flow to. And if you want to do all those kind of fancy little bends, the trickiest part is to try and understand the flow. But what if I just threw in a bit of a squiggly line, a bit more like that, okay? And then we're going to try and turn this into a bit of a cape. Each of these points are going to lead to a side. So let's put that up there, and we're going to just keep drawing off each of these points that'll eventually end up, you know, I don't know, maybe it'll be up here somewhere, is where the cape comes from, okay? And let's just have it all flow from that. So have that part go up there, that part go up there, and then the last part come out here, okay? And then you want to add some shading to these bits that are going to be more darker, because they're the inner parts, so a bit more like that. So if you kind of understand, you can do that with any kind of shape. If you just keep mucking around with it, you'll be okay. You can start adding a few more streaky lines and things like that. So just by throwing in a bit of a squiggle, like if it was a bit more like that, you know, you could have it go up, up, and just all these little points. Do you see what I mean? Like, you can kind of have them all come off there, and then maybe put a little bit of shading under there. It's all going to be flowing up into the same part. So that's kind of a good way to understand how a cape could work, or any kind of material really. Okay, so let's say that we've got this guy here, and you know, it could be Superman. And let's try and do the cape. So everything kind of comes from the shoulders. You got to remember that. So I'm just pointing everything kind of that way up, and you know, both shoulders. So I've got to keep that in mind. So there you go. You kind of get the idea of how it could work now. And then obviously I'd have the cape kind of coming over the top here from his shoulders. And I thought I'd make use of that empty space that was under his arm, because his arm was popping out a bit too far, and I thought, let's use that space, make it more interesting. Capes are pretty tricky, but yeah, if you just play around with a bit of a line, you can kind of make it work. So, you know, what if this was all pointing up to the same direction? So this is a cape, and so that's that bit there, and you know, it all kind of keeps coming around. So you can always kind of work with what you got there, and yeah, have it all kind of come to the same point, and it all just ends about there, you know, if that's where Superman was, and he's like zooming away. Let's do another Superman. This is one I've kind of prepared earlier here. So maybe if I had, how can we make this one work? Again, I kind of want to really make use of this area here. We want to make use of all that. So have the cape kind of come up over his shoulders like so. Now, a cool thing with the shoulder part is like you want to have a bit of a bunch up there, then a fold over. You know, you really want to make it look interesting enough. So again, I like to zoom out a fair bit. And yeah, what if we just had the cape kind of like... So this is where it kind of gets a bit tricky, if we're going to do more of a technical kind of cape. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the red line will be the end of the cape. So I'm talking about this part here, okay? So that's going to be red. And then blue will be where it joins to the shoulders. Alright, so this is pretty dramatic, this kind of red line that I've got going on, but I'm going to try and work with it. Okay, so let's try this out. So I'm going to get this line will be the end of the cape, the point. And then let's see if we can get this to connect and work. So I might have that go up like there, you know, then it's obviously coming around, and then it's going to merge in up here. So I'm just drawing over it. There we go. Yeah, and so this is the under part, stops right there, and then that's going to join up to the shoulder. So let's reef that right up. This is where it gets fun. So that's actually going to go right out and then connect there, I guess. And then, so that's the actual other part of the cape. Alright. Alright, so I'll get rid of that red line, and you can see how the cape kind of works now. So it all comes from the shoulders, reefs over the back, and it's coming around here. So I'm just going to draw a bit of a black line so you can see really how it's working. So I'll just hide off that blue layer now even more, and you can really see kind of what I was trying to do here. So so there's the cape. I've darkened those back parts that are further away just to help understand a little bit more. So yeah, I hope that technique kind of works. That's a good way to kind of tackle capes. And yeah. So let's do one more with the capes from the back angle this time, so we can get a real good view of how it flows. You probably remember this pose from my the tutorial we did last time from how to draw males. So I can either have it kind of going this way. Let's try and work with something like that. So you can kind of see how I just drew that line down the bottom, a bit of a wiggle, you know, a bit of a... But I have kind of thought about it a little bit to try and think where I could have those nice little folds. So that one's pretty cool, and you can kind of see how the movement goes with that. But problem is, you know, when you're trying to work out a pose, this really doesn't quite work because you can't really see Superman at all. You can't see his body or anything. But the cape, you got the cape there. So I'd like to try another angle. So let's try that. So that's also something quite dynamic, or, you know, with the cape flowing. But yeah, I really don't like the way it works. It's just kind of like showing off his ass. But but yeah, no, it's just another way you can kind of move the cape around. And yeah, so that's all right. I definitely prefer the other one though. So there we go. I think that's about it for today. Yeah, I hope you got a bit out of this, and I know this could be a really tricky subject with material and the flow and all that kind of stuff, but once you get the hang of it and understand how it all works and how the folds all connect and things like that, it actually becomes, yeah, a lot easier as you go, and you kind of get used to it. I still struggle today, to be honest, with a lot of capes and things like that, and this was really tricky for me, but we got there in the end. So yeah, I hope that really helps. Thanks for watching, and there's going to be plenty more to come. I really love, you know, trying to come up with these new tutorials and doing something different every time. So yeah, I think next time we might do shadows, since that was a highly requested kind of one in the poll. So yeah, thanks again, and yeah, I'll see you next time.